Parmis and Norouzi. Privilege. We've all heard the word, but do we really know what it means? Privilege means something that someone has without doing anything to receive or deserve. What does that mean? It means that we are all very privileged to be standing here today. Now, let's take a moment to think about how we are privileged. Any ideas? Well, we all have enough food on the table, we have access to clean drinking water, and we have nice homes to stay dry. We are receiving a good education, we have relatively stable financial status, and we ourselves don't have to work for money. But do we even think about these things at all? Do we realize how lucky we are compared to some other people? There are people all over the world who don't have these things, who have to work their heads off every day just for a small loaf of bread on the table, many even going without to stay a loaf. People who don't have any access to health care or any access to technology that we do. For some people, even something as simple as a sewage system is a luxury. Many of us complain about having to come to school every single day, but do we realize that there are people out there whose biggest dream is having access to an education? Or a home to call theirs? Or even access to electricity? And everything else that we take for granted every day that we don't even think about. Now, let's think about ourselves again. We don't have to work for food or clean water, but we receive it every day without difficulty. Just think of all those people who have to send their young children to work for money, and those innocent young children who deserve a good, happy, and fun childhood, but are instead forced to work hours each day, just for the sake of a few coins. The people who can't do much after dark, because they have no electricity to light up their homes with. The people who have to walk miles just for a small bucket of water. Can we even imagine that? Not all of these people did something to deserve these conditions. A child who was born in a family that isn't as privileged as others had nothing to do with his life and how it came to be. The people who are facing racism, sexism, and discrimination didn't choose their race, their skin color, their gender, or whatever else they're being criticized for. Here are the numbers. Approximately 1.1 billion people worldwide don't have access to a clean and safe water source. 2.6 billion fellow human beings don't have the resources or access to adequate sanitation. 150 million don't have a home. 1 billion don't have access to electricity. And 264 million children don't go to school, either because they lack the resources to receive an education or denied access to it. Think of all these people. And that is just a sample of people all over the world who have problems that we don't. The amount of opportunities and resources that we've had in our relatively young lives is more than many people can imagine in a lifetime. As a human race in general, we don't realize our own privileges until they're taken away from us. Compare yourselves with those other people. Put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel about all of this if you weren't standing here today? Most of them didn't choose to live this way, and neither did we. We were just born into a more privileged class, and those people were not. Now, let's try to imagine all of this for a while. Instead of the approximately 8 hours we spend at school each day, imagine having to work for 12 hours a day, working a dangerous job, or having to walk miles just for a bucket of water, having no home to go to at the end of a long day, having no meal after so many hours of hard work. Does that give you a sense of how lucky we are? These people could have been you. We could have been them. I am sure that there are people who deserve to be here, in this room, on this stage, more than any of us. But because of the conditions that they are living and dealing with, they cannot do that. I am sure that most of those 264 million children who don't go to school dream about receiving an education. And here we are, receiving all of this and not even giving a thought about it. So, appreciate what you have. Don't take all of this for granted, because people dream about these things and being where we are today. Seize the opportunities and use your privilege to help people that aren't as fortunate as you are. I walk through the streets all over the world and I see these people, the ones who have no home to go to, who spend their precious days begging for some spare change. The child who has to sell things to make a living out of, instead of having a good and happy childhood. The widowed young mother who has to spend her time begging to feed her children. And I think it is our responsibility as a human race to change this, because I think we can change all this if we put our minds to it. Because I have faith in us humans, and I really believe we can change anything. Especially us, the privileged, who have everything we need, and in many cases, even much more than we need. I think it is probably our responsibility to help share this and help make sure that other people are having a piece of it. Because we're all human beings, and we all deserve a good spot in the world. Thank you.